I'd like to say about the damage, though, that the thing that impressed me was the conditions under which the rescue people worked so effectively. And I consider that there must have been a great many very heroic jobs done by the men getting their shipmates out. And many of the people that I've talked to in the hospital in Newport and here have commented on the fact that they had passed out and were pulled out by their shipmates. Showed a very high degree of discipline and courage and determination. From what I saw of the damaged area, it has the characteristics are different from anything that I've ever seen. I say they're very, very freakish. Yes, indications of explosions in places without indications of heat. Structural indications of pressure within or a vacuum effect. Fabrics and structural parts close together, one showing signs of heat and one showing none. It was that sort of thing that I meant when I said freakish.
Now, let's be specific, Joe. Who was it told you that he'd give out information?
Well, unless I misunderstood you, Senator, the other day when I took the stand, the question arose as to whether or not I should give out the name of this young man who gave me the resume of the FBI file. Now, I read a story in the paper about 2 or 3 days later. And again, I certainly don't hold you responsible for news reports.
Have I ever given out any information of this committee?
Let me finish. Your statement, as it was quoted, was to the effect that you thought perhaps not only the man who gave me this information about communists, but also Senator McCarthy might be guilty of a crime. Now,
I repeat that statement, sir. I do not believe you can receive information that is obtained by criminal means and hold it in your possession without the probability of you two being guilty of crime.
Well, now, if anyone wants to indict me, they can go right ahead.
Well, now, that's a matter of legal opinion.
But let me say this, Senator.
But this is not restricted information if you have the names for the committee.
Senator, let me say this. We now have you on record as saying that you feel that the man who gave me information about treason in government, that's what it is, nothing less than that he should be prosecuted.
I didn't say that. I asked your administration, the chief law enforcement officer of the land, to look into it and inquire and determine what action should be taken.
Senator,
I'm not passing on the final merits of it.
Senator, let's get this straight.
We're getting a long ways away from the issue.
I know, but Mr. Chairman, I think we should straighten this out.
In view of the fact that 1,797 ballots have been challenged and are still in doubt, it will be about 2 months before there can be a final determination of the results of this election. The first step is for the second regional office to make an investigation of these challenged ballots. I, as regional director, will then make a report to the board in Washington. Thereafter, the board will make a determination as to which ballots are to be counted.
It's my fervent hope and prayer that we do not become mouse-trapped into a defensive type war down there, similar to the one we floundered through for 3 years in Korea. If my government decides that our vital interests have been so badly affected in Southeast Asia that fight we must, then I hope it will be with no holds barred, and that we would shoot the works for victory, and that there would be none of the limitations imposed upon us as they were in Korea. I've been asked a question about Guatemala. Of course, I'm not in on the planning or knowing exactly what my government is thinking, but if communist agents are infiltrating weapons and stirring up trouble that might jeopardize our vital interests in the Canal Zone, then I agree that we should take a very serious view of the situation in Central America.
Your Majesty, the American people are honored to have you here on their shores, so that they may salute one who has established a reputation as a defender of freedom and a supporter of progress. For Mrs. Eisenhower and me, it is a rare privilege to have you as a guest in this house.
Mr. President, I need scarcely remark that this is a moment to which I have looked forward with the keenest anticipation. For years it has been one of my founded hopes to be able in person to convey to the President and the people of the United States the expression of the profound admiration which and my people have for your great nation. Mr. President, your gracious invitation and that of Mrs. Eisenhower have therefore greatly touched me and my people.
Thank you very much.
I feel rather as though I were standing barefoot in a briar patch. I have to make a speech, and I don't want to. I want to hear these great American artists just as you do. And I'm uncomfortably reminded of the time I tried to speak at a county fair in Illinois before the trotting races commenced. The people tried to be polite for a few minutes, and then a horse came trotting down the track, and they all began to clap. And all I could think of to say was as good-naturedly as possible, well, thanks very much. And if you don't vote for me, I won't be surprised. And curiously enough, they didn't vote for me, and I wasn't surprised.
I might say I wondered why he consented to have these monitored calls, these eavesdrops calls put in. I found out why. Why do you think? It's interesting because he thought that I already had copies of them. It so happens he was wrong. I didn't have copies. Other senators had put their calls in over this Friday, and they were available to the press over the weekend, and I felt that mine should be available also, the same as the other senators. They will be put in, I understand, under oath tomorrow.
Senator, there's some question of if or what was left out of the monitored phone calls that you released. Was anything left out?
Well, number one, the man who monitored the calls had a lot of dashes and dots to show that he didn't get all of the conversation. Number two, when I gave the press the 3 or 4 calls, I forget which it was, I asked him to leave out one sentence which I thought completely unimportant. It named a newsman. Whether that goes in or not, I really have no concern. It perhaps will go into the record tomorrow, but completely unimportant.
Thank you, Senator.
Communist China has been supplying to the Viet Minh an ever-increasing volume of munitions and military supplies. There is also evidence that Soviet arms have been supplied in increasing quantities to the Communist forces in Indochina. In their classic manner, the Communists have sought to capitalize on local aspirations for independence and have used these aspirations to gain control of a movement which was primarily nationalistic in its inception. The rulers of Communist China trained and equipped in China the troops of their puppet Ho Chi Minh. They supplied these troops with large amounts of artillery and ammunition made in Soviet bloc countries. They supply military and technical guidance in the staff section of Ho Chi Minh's command at the division level and in specialized units such as the Signal and Engineering Corps, artillery units, and transportation. The plan is not only to take over Indochina, but to dominate all of Southeast Asia. The struggle thus carries a grave threat not only to Vietnam, Laos, and Cambodia, but also to such friendly neighboring countries is Thailand, Malaya, Burma, Indonesia, the Philippines, Australia, and New Zealand.
Ba 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 wa
What's this little dwarf? And what's this dwarf's name?
Dopey.
Dopey.
Mother and girl are eating. Soup.
Let's try that again. Soup.
Soup.
there are three questions which the American people can ask the Democrat Party. They owe a duty here. If Senator Symington doesn't realize his duty, the Democrat Party has a duty. Number one, will they put their presidential candidate under oath? Number two, will they force him to disqualify himself? Number three, will Mr. Clifford come in and testify under oath? Period.
Time has expired. Mr. Symington, you have 2 minutes.
Well, Mr. Chairman, the first thing I want to say, you said something about being afraid. I want you to know from the bottom of my heart that I'm not afraid of anything about you or anything you got to say at any time, any place, anywhere. That's number one. Now, number two is, with respect to the oath, let's take it to the Senate floor. There have been times when they wanted to put you under oath and you didn't want to go. I always tell the truth, but you got a senatorial problem here. Let's take it to the Senate floor as you asked. Now, the next thing is, I happen to note that you say that we were getting together with the senator from Wisconsin says, and conniving with this poor, innocent Secretary of the Army, who you say coddle communists, and you've had some pretty rough things to say about it and about him. But here's something that neither Mr. Clifford nor Secretary Stevenson nor I have much to do with. The charge by the senator from Missouri, or rather the senator from Wisconsin, the junior senator from Wisconsin, that we've had another year of treason under President Eisenhower. The charge that the CIA is infiltrated, infested with communists. The charge that the Department of Defense is full of communists. The charge that the Department of Justice, that the Attorney General of the Department of Justice, there's something phony about him. And the charge that the hydrogen bomb plants and the atomic bomb plants are full of communists. Well, where do we go from here as the American people? That's all I have to say tonight, Mr. Chairman, except I believe in America. Every bit of me believes in America. You're always, as Hap Arnold once said, find a rotten apple in a barrel, but that doesn't mean that there's anything wrong with the United States of America, and that's the great and basic difference between the junior senator from Wisconsin and the junior senator from Missouri. Thanks a lot.
At 9:30 tomorrow morning in room 357, we will have an executive meeting of the committee. We stand in recess until 10 o'clock.
I do want to tell this student body that no matter what they hear about Washington, D.C., I have 2 United States senators and 1 congressman here today with me to prove that we do need brains. So if you will come down there. If you will come down there, I am sure that your talents will not be wasted in the service of your country.